Western Confrence playoff preview.
It's the big one.
This is the big one because this is where all the best teams are. So let's start it off with the number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed, and that is Golden State Warriors playing the New Orleans Pelicans. God, it almost makes me sick to say the Pelicans. I'm just not going to say it again. I'm just going to say New Orleans. Golden State Warriors playing New Orleans. They get no nickname. Now, Golden State this year was 67-15, by far the best record in the NBA, and they really kept it up the whole time. They've been the most consistent team in the NBA this year, just from bell to bell. So, yeah, well, you can kind of tell where this is going. New Orleans, though, 45-37. So if you're keeping track, that would have made them the 6th seed in the East. Instead, they're the 8th seed in the West. So that's neither here nor there. But
that's not that big of a difference. That's 2 seeds.
They would have been the 6th seed by a fair margin, by 4 games.
Okay.
so there you go. Now, the season series, Golden State won 3 out of the 4 games. So, not horrible. I mean, they only lost 15 games total. So if you're one of those 15, yeah, you probably did all right. The matchups to watch are going to be Anthony Davis. Again, I've talked about this kid multiple times this year. He is spectacular. He's got the length. He's got the ability. He's a great defender, and he's showing that he can do things on offense that I didn't think he was capable of. He can step out, take a shot, or he can drive it at you. I mean, I think he's averaging 24 and 10 and like 3 blocks a game. So he's going to be going up against David Lee, who might be a little hurt. And if David Lee doesn't make it into the series as much, you're going to see Andrew Bogut kind of come in there. And I think Andrew Bogut will just get run over. So that'll be interesting. But then on the other side, you're going to see Stephen Curry playing against Tyreke Evans. This will be a fun matchup to watch. Now, I think Curry will take full advantage of it. But Tyreke Evans has played, I believe, for the New Orleans Pelicans. Damn it, I said I wasn't going to say that again. But I believe he started in 3 different positions this year so far for him. He started off at small forward, then moved over to shooting guard, and now he's starting as point guard. So this is a versatile guy. And he's a talented kid. So we're going to see that. That'll be very fun. Now, one thing I think for Golden State is that they are so lucky that the Thunder barely got edged out of making it into the playoffs because they didn't want to play Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook as the 8th seed. If they had made it in as the 8th seed, I would have almost guaranteed Golden State goes down in 7 games. Almost guaranteed. But now that they're not in there, I think Golden State's going to sweep up the New Orleans. So, yeah. Anthony Davis is good enough to win them 1 or 2 games. So it could happen the other way, but I do think this will be a clean sweep right there. So let's move it on to the next matchup, and that is the Houston Rockets playing the Dallas Mavericks. So we have an interstate rivalry coming head-to-head for the first round of the playoffs. Now, Houston was 56-26. Dallas was 50-32. In the season series, it was 3-1 in favor of Houston. So we're going to see some interesting things there. Now, these teams, they're not too far away in the state, but Texas is like the 3rd largest state in America. So not too far away in that state, can still be pretty darn far away.
Well, either way, we're going to find out now which city is really the best city in Texas.
Well, yeah, I mean, except for San Antonio's in the tournament here too.
We don't talk about San Antonio.
Okay, I'm just going to skip that part of the preview. We'll pretend they're not in there.
I mean, they're in their own league. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, well, that's true. So what we're going to see, the matchups to watch, I believe. Now, listen, it's going to sound weird, but I think it's Harden versus Rondo. And when I say this, I mean when Harden is on offense, Rondo is on defense, because Rondo is normally a point guard, Harden is a shooting guard. So you would say, that's not really a matchup. But I think if they're smart, they're going to put Rondo, who's the better defensive player out of him and Monte Ellis, in my opinion, on one of the best offensive players in the league right now, and that is James Harden. So that is one matchup. But then the other matchup is going to be Harden on Monte Ellis. So on offense, when the Mavs are on offense, it's going to be interesting to see how Harden defends Monte Ellis, because Harden, not really known for his defensive skills. He's a prolific scorer, don't get me wrong. And, I'm not saying he's a slouch. He does try. It's not like he gives up on defense. But Monte Ellis has had a really good season. I think he's been somewhere in the 22, 23 points per game range. So we're going to see those. That is going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, you might say, what about Dirk Nowitzki? I mean, yeah, he'll have his points. Don't worry. What about Dwight Howard? Yeah, he'll do his defensive thing. But I'm looking at this is going to be the perimeter game. This is where you're going to really see if they can shut down Harden, then that's it. Or if Harden can shut down Monte Ellis, a lot of this will go in different directions. Now, I would almost want to pick the Mavericks over the Houston Rockets had the Rondo trade worked out at all, but it just doesn't seem to have worked too well for them. Rondo is a really good player. He should have come in there and been able to orchestrate a maestro type thing going on, but him and the coach never quite got along. So that's why they went from, I believe they were the 4th seed or the 5th seed when they made the trade, to the 7th seed. So, here, neither here nor there. But it should be interesting. These two teams do have a little bit of rivalry there. Not bitter, but, interstate thing going on. So I do expect it to not be a sweep or anything like that, but I have the Houston Rockets winning in 6. So
it should believe in Rondo, Brian.
Believe in Rondo? I should believe. Yeah. Believe in Rondo!
Well, here's the thing, too. It's going to be the playoffs. It does change things significantly. It's time for him to show his worth. He's already shown that he is a worthwhile player, but to really step up. It's time to go big or go home, Brian.
Did you just quote me the NBA playoffs slogan?
I did, because we're talking about the NBA playoffs, aren't we?
Did you realize it was the NBA playoff slogan before that?
I didn't realize it was the NBA.
I love that, because I was like, wow, I wonder if he realized what he just did.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
It is the most said phrase during the NBA playoffs.
That is true. That is true. All right, you got me. Give yourself a ding point for Brendan.
Yay! I winning today.
I don't know if we have that sound effect. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, there you go. All right. So, again, I got Houston winning in 6 in that one. Let's keep on rolling, and let's talk about probably the 2 hottest teams in the NBA right now, and that is the Los Angeles Clippers are the number 3 seed, and they're going against the number 6 seed San Antonio Spurs. So, now you might say, well, San Antonio's not so great. They're back in the 6th seed. Well, let me just tell you their records, and Clippers are 56-26. The Spurs are 55-27. So, yeah, that's not like there's a big difference. I believe the Clippers are winners of 13 of their last 14 games, and the Spurs are somewhere in the 20 out of 22 or something like that.
Spurs are also the winners of, multiple championships in the last couple of years here.
They are the dynasty around, yeah. So, the key matchups to watch right here are going to be Tony Parker versus Chris Paul. These are 2 of the best point guards, and especially they're 2 of the most clutch point guards. When it comes down to crunch time, who do you want to have the ball in their hands? Chris Paul is definitely one of them, and Tony Parker's one of those guys. I mean, out of the guys in the NBA, I might say LeBron James, Dwayne Wade. I still love him. He's clutch. Tony Parker, Chris Paul. I mean, those are the guys. Damian Lillard's coming up there. There's a couple other players. James Harden's making his way up. Steph Curry is showing how clutch he is, but guys who have established themselves a little bit more, those are 2 of the most clutch. Then you also have Griffin versus Duncan, and Blake Griffin, he has had some problems with injuries, but I think he's fully healthy now. Tim Duncan is the old ageless wonder. The guy's almost 40, and he looks like he's 32. Or maybe when he was 32, he looked like he was 40. Whatever. But he plays at a very high level. It doesn't matter. He plays at a very high level. So I don't always see them playing Duncan on Blake Griffin the whole time. You don't be surprised if you see like a Kawhi Leonard switch off and play Blake Griffin on defense, because athletically, I mean, yeah, he's a little bit smaller, gives up a little height, but he's got this absurd wingspan. Like his arm length is the length of a 6'11" person, and he's only 6'7". So he could definitely do that, and the athleticism would be a better match for Blake Griffin. So see how that goes. But again, it'll be 2 of the hottest teams in the NBA coming through. But that being said, I kind of don't see it as that much of a competition. I think the Spurs are going to come out of here in 5-6 games. 6, I'm going to go 6. 6 games, so it's going to be 4-2 to the Spurs. These guys are just poised to make another championship. I would be very surprised if the Spurs don't at least make it to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see how that goes. What do you think?
I mean, they definitely have the experience for it. That's what I was saying before. It's the Spurs. We were saying earlier that, yes, they're another Texas team, but I don't even consider it a fair competition
Yeah,
there.
it's not. It's really not. It's not. They've won only like 5 out of the past 10 championships. That's it. That's not many. I mean, since
And they've
1999.
been to the championship more times than they've won it too.
Yeah.
So several of those other times they were there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah, so, but that brings us to the last playoff matchup of the night, and that is the Portland Trailblazers versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Portland Trailblazers this year were 51-31, and you might be saying, wait, Brian. You have the Spurs who had a better record, and yet they're the number 6 seed. How did they make it to the number 4 seed? And they're playing against the Memphis Grizzlies, who have 55-27. Well, in the NBA, what you do is you take the top 3 division winners, or the 3 division winners, and then you take the team with the best record, not being a division winner, and you make those the top 4 in any order. So if you win your division, you have to at least be one of the top 4. That is why the Portland Trailblazers are the number 4 seed. Now, that's not me saying that the Portland Trailblazers are a bad team. I really like this team. I really enjoyed watching them. I wish they weren't on the West Coast so I could almost watch them more, because they have young players like Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge who are just a lot of fun to watch. These guys are growing up and they're becoming more and more dominant as the years go on. But that being said, over the season, the Grizzlies won all 4 of these matchups. So really the matchups to watch is going to be Damian Lillard versus Mike Conley, the 2 point guards. Both these guys are stellar. I do give the edge to Damian Lillard. I do think he's just a little bit better of a player, but not much. Mike Conley is a very solid player, and if he can keep his turnovers down, he's right up there with the best of them. So that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. And then, like I said, LaMarcus Aldridge going against Zach Randolph. So you have a younger guy against a grizzled vet, and Zach Randolph always seems to get 20 and 10 in these playoff games. And he's just a savvy defender. So it's going to be fun to watch those 2 guys kind of battle it out. But really where I think the turning point is going to be between these 2 teams is going to be Marc Gasol. I don't think that the Trailblazers have anybody to answer Marc Gasol at the center position. So that being said, I think that they are going to win in 6 games. The Grizzlies will. So Grizzlies in 6.
Grizzlies have had a pretty surprising, just how they started out, how they've been coming here. I don't think most of us expected them to do this well.
Well, I knew they were
from last year, early this year, though. They were showing immediately that they could just go the way.
They were 18-2 at the beginning of the year, so they kind of cooled off a little bit. But you're right, that talent is there. It was not unexpected per se, but I didn't.
I don't think anyone expected them to start out 18-2.
Yeah, nobody did. You're right.
So they show that they can have those bursts, and even so, when we say they cooled down, they may have really just put on some coolers, because when you start that well, you can slow down a bit because you're still going to make the playoffs, and they still make the playoffs in a pretty decent position. They could
have looked over at the Spurs and said, "Hey, those guys don't even start playing until February. What are we doing here?" So we just got to get in the dance. So hey, so I got them winning 6. But hit us up, let us know what you think. What of these teams is going to come out of the West? What any of these playoff matchups that you disagree with me? Give me some numbers. Let me know, what do you think, who's going to win in what series? Give me some key players. Hit us up. Let us know, comments down at What's My Face on Twitter, Google Plus, and Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us.